Walter sat in his favorite chair, a worn armchair that cradled him comfortably as the sun streamed through the living room window. The light danced across the floor, casting warm patches that Rex loved to lounge in. He watched as his loyal German shepherd lay sprawled out, his thick coat gleaming and his deep brown eyes half closed. Walter smiled softly, remembering the first day Rex had come into his life. A fluffy bundle of energy, paws too big for his body. Life with Rex had been nothing short of joyful. Each morning began with a playful romp in the backyard, where Rex would bound after a ball, tail wagging with excitement. Their afternoon walks through the neighborhood brought smiles from passersby who knew Walter and Rex as a team, a comforting presence in their tight-knit community. They were inseparable. Wherever Walter went, Rex was sure to follow, whether it was to the local park or just into the kitchen as he prepared dinner. Walter had dedicated over 30 years to teaching history at the local high school. His students often commented on how passionate he was when speaking about the past. But outside of school, it was Rex who filled Walter's heart with joy and companionship. When loneliness crept in during retirement, Rex was always there to nuzzle against his leg or rest his head on Walter's lap while they watched their favorite shows. Yet recently, life had taken an unexpected turn. A series of medical bills had piled up, doctor visits and prescription costs that drained Walter's savings faster than he could keep track. With each passing month, the weight of financial strain grew heavier on his shoulders. He pondered how he could keep both himself and Rex happy and healthy while facing these challenges. It was an evening like any other when Walter found himself staring at a pile of bills spread out on the dining room table, dread pooling in his stomach. He looked over at Rex, who lay contentedly by his feet. It broke Walter's heart to even consider what he would have to do next. After many sleepless nights filled with worry, Walter made the agonizing decision to surrender Rex to the shelter. He felt as if he were tearing away a piece of himself. Saying goodbye was one of the hardest things he'd ever done. At the shelter, he hoped that someone else would see in Rex what he had always seen, a loving companion ready to bring joy into someone else's life. Meanwhile, Rex entered an unfamiliar world where anxiety began to creep in slowly. In those first few days at the shelter, he wandered from kennel to kennel but did not connect with anyone. Staff members worked hard to help him settle in and tried different methods to introduce him to potential adopters. But despite their best efforts, Rex remained aloof. Days turned into weeks and weeks flowed into months. 8 long months passed without a single adoption offer for Rex. The staff observed that he seemed to long for something more than just food and shelter. He needed a sense of belonging that he couldn't find among strangers. As time went on, Walter faced a cycle of sadness mixed with hope. Hope that amidst it all, someone would come for Rex and fill his heart again. Meanwhile, deep within those walls of the shelter where dogs barked and people came and went, Rex waited patiently for something or someone to change. Then one day, everything shifted unexpectedly. 2 days before Rex faced transfer due to lack of space in the shelter, he began scratching insistently at a specific kennel door. Inside lay Dorothy, a new intake brought in after a family emergency, who appeared disoriented and confused about her surroundings. Rex perked up at her distress. Somehow, he sensed that she needed help more than they realized. Although no one was aware of it yet, this gentle giant was about to step up once again. As staff hurriedly responded to Rex's unusual behavior and discovered Dorothy's critical situation needing immediate attention, Walter's daughter sat alone at her computer screen hundreds of miles away. She had been quietly following updates about her father's beloved dog online throughout these months. Seeing a post go viral about the shepherd who wouldn't give up caught her eye and ignited something deep within her, a determination to reconnect her father with Rex once more. Walter's story intertwined once again with that of his faithful companions, as hope became tangible once more for both man and dog alike. Walter sat at the dining table, where a mountain of unpaid bills loomed ominously. The numbers blurred in front of his eyes as he took a deep breath, trying to concentrate on the reality he dreaded. He looked over at Rex, peacefully chewing on his favorite toy, oblivious to the turmoil unfolding around them. How could such a loving creature be so carefree when Walter felt like the walls were closing in on him? With each passing month, It became increasingly clear that Walter's retirement savings weren't enough to cover his growing medical expenses. He had always prided himself on being independent and self-sufficient, but the mounting bills began to chip away at this confidence. Medical appointments coupled with necessary prescriptions for both him and Rex formed a burden that was becoming harder to bear. His heart sank as he realized that something would have to change, something that would alter their life together forever. Recalling their mornings filled with laughter and joy made his heart ache deeper. Walter envisioned the thrill on Rex's face as he sprinted through the backyard grass chasing after squirrels, carefree and fully alive. Their daily walks around the neighborhood echoed with memories of smiles and waves from friends who knew them well. It wasn't just Walter who benefited from their companionship. Rex often brightened the day for others too. But now, staring at these papers that dictated his fate, Walter felt lost. He could no longer deny that he was trapped between love for his pet and the harsh realities of financial strain. He closed his eyes tightly against tears as he imagined leaving Rex behind, hoping another family would appreciate all that his loyal companion had to offer. It felt like ripping out pages from a beloved book, permanently altering both their stories. After sleepless nights filled with regret and worry, Walter's mind settled on a heartbreaking solution. He would surrender Rex to the local animal shelter. Each time he thought about it, dread gripped his stomach tighter. Could he really let go of the one being that filled his home with warmth? Yet, how could he provide for Rex if he couldn't provide for himself? This painful inner conflict threw him into a spiral of endlessly weighing pros and cons. The decision finally settled into an agonizing place in Walter's heart. It was made not out of disdain or careless abandonment, but out of a desperate act of love. He spent nights replaying memories in his mind. The time Rex chewed up an entire shoe while waiting impatiently for Walter to come home from work, or how he'd bark playfully whenever a delivery truck rolled by. Would those moments become distant memories now? While walking through the shelter's entrance, the walls stark and devoid of warmth, Walter's heart felt heavier than ever before. He caught sight of other dogs barking excitedly from their kennels. Some wagged their tails while hopeful families filed past them. Yet none even approached Rex, whose calm demeanor seemed out of place amid the chaos surrounding him. "A calm dog is hard to sell," a staff member told Walter gently, reading his expression as doubt clouded it. "He's trained and gentle. I'm sure someone will see what a great companion Rex can be." Yet doubts lingered uncomfortably in Walter's mind as he watched Rex stand quietly beside him, perhaps sensing the sorrowful weight lying heavy on both their hearts. The process dragged interminably slow. Filling out adoption paperwork with trembling hands felt like sealing a pact. With every word written down came another pang of guilt stabbing through him. But deep inside, he still hoped for one last chance. That someone viewing Rex at this shelter might see what he had always seen in him, a loving companion ready to bring joy. As days passed in the shelter without any visitors displaying interest in adopting Rex, a sense of hopelessness began creeping back into Walter's heart. Each time he thought about how many families had come and gone without seeing Rex's loving potential drew tears to his eyes. At that moment, surrendering might have felt like giving up entirely. But deep down, both man and dog held onto faint threads woven through shared history and love that connected them together against the looming shadows threatening their bond. All they needed was just one doorway pivoting open again, to rekindle hope where it existed, a hope clinging stubbornly despite fading circumstances surrounding them. Little did they know that fate was about to intervene in ways neither imagined yet, offering new beginnings amidst fears barely held at bay within tender feelings shared between friends who truly understood each other's hearts, even when distance threatened their connection. At the shelter, Rex settled into his new surroundings with an air of calmness that seemed to defy the chaos around him. Even as other dogs barked excitedly and paced in their kennels, he remained composed, lying quietly in his designated space and observing everything with gentle curiosity. His thick coat gleamed under the harsh fluorescent lights, and his deep brown eyes held a depth of understanding that resonated with those who took the time to notice. Rex was trained well. He knew basic commands such as sit, stay, and heel, which he executed with an elegant grace. Staff members often marveled at how effortlessly he responded to their cues, his obedience a testament to Walter's dedication to training him. On their long walks together, Walter had instilled in Rex a sense of discipline that allowed them to navigate bustling streets without incident. Rex's gentle nature made him approachable, and even children felt drawn to him despite the uncertainty of his future. Yet, despite his calm demeanor and good behavior, Rex struggled to connect with potential adopters. Over the months at the shelter, many visitors came by, drawn in by his striking appearance and gentle disposition. They would lean down to pet him or call out encouraging words in hopes of drawing out a wag from his tail. But Rex would merely tilt his head slightly before returning to his relaxed position on the floor, as if he were waiting for someone specific, a connection only he could identify. The staff tried everything they could think of to help Rex feel more comfortable and appealing. They organized playdates with children who wanted a furry friend, took him on group outings with other dogs, and even hosted adoption events where people could come and meet him in a more casual setting. Yet no matter what was done, Rex maintained an air of detachment. His heart seemed tied to something or someone beyond the walls of the shelter. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Rex became somewhat of a quiet fixture within the shelter. The staff came to know him well. They would often share stories about their own pets while stroking Rex's soft fur, finding solace in his uncomplaining presence. He didn't bark for attention or beg for treats. Instead, he simply accepted every moment as it came, waiting patiently for whatever fate had in store for him. Walter frequently visited during those first few weeks after surrendering Rex. Each visit left him torn between joy at seeing his beloved dog and anguish at the reality that he couldn't take him home. He would sit on a bench outside Rex's kennel, watching as others interacted with him. Despite the overwhelming heaviness in his heart, he felt a flicker of pride whenever someone remarked on how well-trained he was or how gentle his demeanor appeared. "Rex is such a good boy," one of the staff members would say while offering him a treat as Walter watched closely. "He just needs someone who understands him." Walter nodded but felt helpless. It was clear that Rex needed more than just food or shelter. He needed love and companionship that Walter could no longer provide. Every time he touched Rex's head or scratched behind his ears, memories flooded back. Long walks at sunset and quiet evenings spent curled up on the couch. But now those moments felt like distant echoes. As months passed without any adoption offers, Walter wrestled with guilt over surrendering Rex. He questioned whether he had made the right choice or if he had simply abandoned the one creature who loved him unconditionally. Yet through it all, Rex remained a symbol of hope, a reminder of better times that made Walter smile even through tears. Then one day, something unexpected happened that began to shift everything for both man and dog alike. 2 days before Rex was set to be transferred due to space limitations at the shelter, there was a change in routine. A new intake arrived, a disoriented elderly woman named Dorothy, whose presence stirred something within Rex that no one had anticipated. Rex's calm demeanor transformed into focused alertness as he began scratching insistently at a specific kennel door where Dorothy lay confused and unaware of her surroundings. It was as if he understood her need for comfort better than anyone around them did. In that moment, everything shifted. Fate had intervened not only for Dorothy but also for Rex, and perhaps for Walter too. Little did they know how this single event would rekindle hope not just for them but also for all those connected by love and longing. A love that refused to fade away despite daunting circumstances threatening their bond. As the weeks turned into months, Rex settled into the routine of shelter life, though it was never what he truly wanted. For 8 long months, he was a familiar sight within those stark concrete walls, a calm and gentle presence amid a whirlwind of barking dogs and frantic volunteers. The shelter staff knew him well. They often referred to him as the gentle giant, appreciating his composed nature even in the midst of chaos. However, deep down, they felt a creeping concern for his well-being. Initially, they had high hopes when Rex arrived. His training impressed everyone. It clearly showed Walter's dedication to nurturing him into a well-behaved companion. The staff devised various strategies to encourage interaction between Rex and potential adopters. They introduced games involving toys he loved and organized playgroups with other dogs, believing that socializing would help draw him out of his shell. They even arranged sessions where families could come in specifically to meet him, hoping the right match would emerge. But despite their efforts, nothing seemed to work. Visitors would come and go, cooing over Rex's handsome looks and soft coat. Yet he failed to engage with them. When someone leaned in to pet him or coaxed him with treats, he would simply observe quietly with a tilt of his head before returning to his relaxed position on the floor. It was as if he was waiting for something, or someone who had yet to arrive. The shelter staff began to feel frustration mixed with sadness as they watched Rex remain unadopted month after month. They worried that his days in such an environment might be taking a toll on his spirit. New arrivals often brought excitement and energy that filled the air with hope. However, Rex remained unfazed by it all. He accepted each day calmly, but seemed increasingly more distant from the other dogs who thrived on attention and affection. During informal discussions amongst staff members during breaks, whispers of concern grew louder. Was it possible that Rex had given up hope? Did he sense that no one could replace Walter? More than once, they were left wondering what else could be done to help this wonderful dog find his forever home. Through all this turmoil at the shelter, Walter visited as often as he could, though it pained him deeply every time he left without taking Rex home. He made sure not to miss any opportunity to see how his beloved German Shepherd was faring. Each visit illuminated their bond but also highlighted how trapped they both felt in their current circumstances. Walter couldn't shake off feelings of guilt. Every time he left the shelter without Rex by his side, felt like another stab at his heart. He witnessed firsthand how others responded positively when meeting Rex. Children laughed merrily as they petted him, while adults shared stories about their pets back home. Still, it wasn't enough. Rex needed connection beyond momentary interactions. In hushed tones among themselves, staff members began expressing doubts about their ability to find an adopter suited for Rex's unique temperament. His quiet strength was both comforting yet enigmatic amidst the lively chaos surrounding them daily. As different events promoted adoptions within the shelter, a hopeful Valentine's Day showcase or Take Your Dog to Work Day, Rex participated almost passively despite bright balloons and colorful banners surrounding him. Staff notes praised him for patience but carried cracks laced with worry over whether rejection weighed too heavily on this loyal soul's heart. Meanwhile, outside those walls filled with uncertainty and longing for companionship was a young woman named Lucy, Walter's daughter, who had been tracking updates regarding her father's cherished dog online since the initial heartbreak occurred months ago. She stumbled upon posts highlighting Rex, the dog who wouldn't give up, which were viewed thousands of times by sympathetic users rallying behind the cause of finding him a loving home. Through all these efforts surrounding love lost and hope found within shelter confines did something entirely unexpected begin stirring. A moment destined not only for destiny but desperately needed connections waiting just beyond these barriers erected through circumstance alone. Little did anyone realize that soon fate would intervene in profound ways that echoed back into each life entwined within this story. A journey guided by loyalty bred through years spent side by side. A reunion awaited beyond those kennel doors, just waiting silently until all pieces fell into place once more. Just as Rex's world at the shelter seemed to be standing still, a wave of change was about to drift in with the arrival of a new intake, Dorothy. An elderly woman in her late 70s, Dorothy arrived at the shelter in a state of disorientation, her frail frame hidden beneath a worn navy cardigan that seemed to hang loosely from her thin shoulders. The fragility of her situation was immediately apparent as she stumbled slightly, her gray hair tousled and eyes filled with confusion. Dorothy had been admitted after a family emergency, leaving her separated from loved ones during a vulnerable time. As she stepped into the shelter, the brightly lit environment appeared overwhelming to her. It buzzed with activity and noise that she struggled to process. Familiar faces had faded from her life, replaced with strangers bustling about. Some barking instructions, others laughing or cooing over the dogs, including Rex who lay silently a few kennels away. In the midst of this chaos, Dorothy's thoughts drifted aimlessly as she attempted to understand how she had ended up in such a place. Time blurred for her. Moments passed without proper acknowledgement, and soon reality set in that critical details of her life were slipping away unnoticed. Most importantly, her medication schedule. Unbeknownst to the staff, who greeted her with warm smiles and gentle words, Dorothy required certain medications at specific times each day for various health concerns. In their eagerness to assist, they overlooked important notes regarding her vital needs. While Rex continued his quiet wait, a sharp contrast to the anxious energy surrounding him, Dorothy wandered through the shelter unaware of how her own struggles would become interconnected with his. A wave of unease washed over Samuel, one of the dedicated shelter staff members who had just finished checking on another dog, when he caught sight of Dorothy standing alone near the front desk. Her vacant expression hinted at something deeper troubling her spirit. As staff shuffled around organizing supplies and helping other incoming pets adjust to their new surroundings, Rex seemingly sensed a shift in atmosphere. He raised his head and looked toward Dorothy's side of the shelter. With keen intuition honed through years spent with Walter, it was as if he understood that she needed assistance far more than any newcomer interested in adopting him ever could. The moment became pivotal when Rex began scratching insistently at his kennel door. His deep-set eyes focused on the woman whose presence had triggered something profound within him. It startled some staff members nearby who paused mid-conversation to figure out what might have caught Rex's attention so intensely. They watched as he continued nudging against the door, an urgency punctuated by soft whines that escaped his lips. Concerned, one of the staff members approached Rex's kennel. "What is it, boy?" she asked softly. She opened the door hesitantly but kept an eye on Dorothy from a distance while observing Rex intentionally shift closer to the entrance where new intakes were processed. Finally steeling herself, the staff member decided that Dorothy needed support immediately and beckoned some volunteer assistants over to help with checking in on her. They gently led Dorothy to a quiet corner where calming activities could be offered until staff could assess her needs more thoroughly. Moments later, they discovered that crucial medications lofted above their heads existed only in boxes left behind at Dorothy's home, forgotten amidst the stressful whirlwind leading to her admission to the shelter. Upon realizing this oversight during intake discussions about medical requirements every pet and human should note diligently, alarm bells started ringing. As volunteers hurriedly discussed options about how best to rectify the oversight for Dorothy's well-being, trying to contact family members while ensuring she felt safe in an environment that now overwhelmed her, Rex remained alert but calm across the room. It was clear that he understood something was amiss, that beneath facades hid silent battles. In those moments shared between man's best friend and this disoriented woman laid an unspoken connection hidden behind shared feelings of bewilderment, the desire for companionship both sought amidst chaos, so different than any experiences they had known before. Little did anyone realize how this unexpected meeting would intertwine their fates, transcending loneliness into moments where purpose stirred within hearts waiting patiently to be reignited once again. Amid the bustling activity of the shelter, a pivotal moment began to unfold as Rex remained quiet but watchful in his kennel. All around him, staff members hurried to acclimate new arrivals while maintaining the needs of existing pets. The bright lights above reflected off Rex's shiny coat as he lay still on the cool concrete floor. Yet when he sensed a shift in the air, something deep within him stirred. Dorothy stood some distance away from Rex's kennel. Disoriented and overwhelmed by her surroundings, she tried to make sense of the chaos around her. Familiar faces had vanished from her life, leaving her feeling lost in a place filled with strangers and barking dogs. Her heart raced as anxiety clawed at her mind, compounded by the pressing realization that she had forgotten her vital medications, crucial lifelines she needed to maintain her health. As uncertainty washed over Dorothy, Rex instinctively picked up on her emotional turmoil, his instincts finely tuned from years spent by Walter's side. He had learned to read human emotions in ways that few could understand, detecting distress even when it was fleeting or silent. In that moment, as Dorothy appeared frail and tentative, Rex recognized a kindred spirit who needed comfort more than anyone could capture in words. Suddenly, breaking through the noise and distractions of the shelter, Rex began scratching insistently at his kennel door. His sharp claws rattled against the metal frame with urgency, stirring surprised glances from staff members nearby. "What is it, boy?" one assistant asked curiously as he paused mid-task to observe Rex's peculiar behavior. Rex's eyes locked onto Dorothy, who had momentarily caught her breath as if sensing an unseen force drawing her attention toward him. He persisted in his efforts to gain someone's notice. Perhaps it was his unfulfilled purpose, the last job he needed to complete before being reunited with Walter, that pushed him into action. The staff wasted no time following Rex's lead. One volunteer approached and gently opened his kennel door while cautiously positioning herself between Rex and Dorothy. Aware that he could be excited by various stimuli, but also recognizing how critical this moment felt for everyone involved. The energy shifted instantly. It was clear something profound, and perhaps life-changing, was about to happen. "Let's go see what he's trying to tell us," said Samuel, another staff member who had noticed Dorothy standing uneasily nearby. As they ushered Dorothy over towards Rex's kennel, she seemed hesitant but drawn closer by an invisible thread of understanding woven between them both. When they arrived at the kennel, Dorothy peered down through tear-filled eyes at Rex's eager expression, a glimmer of hope breaking through her confusion. She saw a dog filled with attentiveness craning his neck forward eagerly, all while still keeping his instincts grounded in respect for her space. In that moment, everything changed. Any barriers they faced melted away as their eyes met. It was almost as though time slowed down completely around them. Dorothy instinctively reached out a trembling hand toward Rex's soft fur. The gentle giant responded immediately with a nudge of reassurance, leaning into her palm while letting out a soft whine that echoed sympathy and understanding. His reaction sparked something deep within Dorothy, a sense of familiarity mixed with recognition that sent rippling waves through her soul. At that instant, two lonely hearts found solace in each other's presence. Rex sensed her vulnerability and offered silent support just as she craved companionship amid uncertainty. No one else might notice it, Samuel thought quietly as he observed this beautiful exchange unfold. But these two are connected at this moment. He felt fulfilled seeing how instinctive bonds bridged across realms of suffering while drawing strength together. It was magic ignited simply by understanding unspoken fears. As staff finally tended to analyze Dorothy's medication situation and ensure she would receive immediate care needed thereafter, Rex calmed himself at her feet, a steadfast anchor against vulnerability swirling dangerously close around them both. In a transient act filled with significance not yet fully clear, exchanged now between man's best friend and this gentle woman stood promise energized quietly beneath their hearts' burdens. The journey ahead whispered of healing paths waiting just beyond their current reality, where loneliness transformed ultimately into shared peace once more. As the staff gathered around Rex's kennel, they sensed that something important was unfolding. Dorothy had been gently led over to him, a glimmer of hope brightening her eyes as she connected with the dog, who seemed to understand her distress. However, the magnitude of Dorothy's condition remained hidden from everyone, and it was clear that her needs required immediate attention. Rex's persistent scratching at his door had not only attracted the staff's attention but also served as a crucial signal that something was wrong. Samuel, one of the more observant employees, carefully observed the interaction between them. The more he watched, the more he saw in Rex's behavior a determination to communicate not just a need for affection, but perhaps a deeper instinctive call for help. "Dorothy, can you tell us how you're feeling?" Samuel asked gently as he approached her, mindful to keep his tone soft. He noted how she appeared slightly shaky and confused, even as she smiled at Rex, whose warm gaze offered silent assurance. "I'm fine, just a little disoriented," Dorothy replied, her voice shaky and soft. "I think I just need some time to adjust." But her eyes told a different story. Fear and worry lingered behind the facade of calm she tried to maintain. While staff members wrestled with how best to support Dorothy during this chaotic first day, they began to make simple preparation notes about her medical needs. As they delved deeper into her situation, still focusing on the bond forming between Dorothy and Rex, it became apparent that crucial details regarding her medication were missing. She hadn't just arrived without proper emotional support. She was absent of a plan that dictated her well-being. "I'll go check for any additional paperwork we may need," one staff member volunteered, hurrying off to see if any family members could provide clarity about Dorothy's medications. The urgency of their mission echoed in their quick strides as they dispersed throughout the shelter searching for answers. Meanwhile, Rex sensed the tension intermingling with emotions in the room. The anxious energy swirled around him like gusts of wind pushing against an old oak tree. He had waited patiently for Walter all these months, yet this felt like an important moment. Somehow, he knew he had a role to play here beyond simply being a companion. His calm demeanor provided an anchor for Dorothy as she sat down beside his kennel again, taking a moment to breathe in his familiar scent. "You're such a good boy," she whispered softly, stroking his fur as if trying to draw strength from their bond. Though comfort spread between them like sunlight breaking through clouds, there were still urgent matters needing resolution. The staff returned moments later with a sheet listing vital medications Dorothy required for her health concerns. However, the paper only added to their growing alarm. They realized that medications needed at specific times had been left forgotten at her home during the whirlwind of events leading her here. "This cannot continue," Samuel murmured quietly to himself as he exchanged concerned glances with colleagues. They immediately began searching ways to address Dorothy's critical medication gap, to make sure she safely transitioned into shelter life while simultaneously stabilizing her condition. Within minutes, another worker returned with a plan. "We need to contact her family or get a hold of someone who can help us reach her doctor," she suggested determinedly. As urgency propelled them forward, Rex remained grounded by Dorothy's side, acting as an unintentional hero through his simple act of reaching out when no one else had seen what she needed most. Unsure yet hopeful about how everything would unravel within that chaotic space filled with barks and questions essential for care, they quickly organized volunteers to handle switches between ongoing tasks so they could focus on Dorothy's health without impacting others' welfare. "Stay close," Samuel directed Rex with a reassuring tone as he instinctively leaned toward Dorothy again. It was then that they realized this empathetic connection between man's best friend and a woman experiencing vulnerability signified far more than incidental support. This relationship would forge paths toward healing that neither had anticipated before walking through those doors. As they pieced together help around Dorothy's needs, where prior moments hadn't activated departmental red flags, they recognized Rex wasn't merely offering comfort. He ushered in critical changes needed during this tumultuous transition for both himself and a frightened soul seeking solace amidst adversity. As calm enveloped the room, hope surged through each member dedicated to ensuring nobody stood alone during such vulnerable times. With careful strategy stitched carefully across their action plans speaking volumes about community heartbeats joined together under unexpectedly tangled threads of fate. Inside these shelter walls resonated profound changes brewing slowly among all who graced its space under shared purposes waiting quietly to rise amid care extended through trust unbroken once lost. While Rex was making a difference in the shelter, far away, Walter's daughter, Lucy, was deeply concerned about her father and his beloved dog. Ever since Walter reluctantly surrendered Rex to the shelter, she had followed every update online, hoping for news about her father's four-legged companion. Despite living in a different state, she felt a strong connection to Rex and wanted nothing more than to see him back with her dad. One evening, while scrolling through social media out of habit, Lucy stumbled upon a post that caught her eye. It wasn't just any post. It was about Rex, the dog who wouldn't give up. The heartfelt message accompanying the photograph explained how he remained calm and gentle at the shelter despite struggling to find a new home. As she read through the comments, it became clear that many people were touched by Rex's story. The post had gone viral, resonating with others who understood the bond between pets and their owners. Lucy's heart raced as she absorbed the details. She felt determined to find a way to help Walter reunite with Rex after hearing how he had waited patiently at the shelter for months without bonding with potential adopters. "I have to do something," she thought fervently, fueled by an overwhelming sense of purpose. After reading through various suggestions from others online about how people could support shelters and pets in need, Lucy immediately picked up her phone and called her father. As the dial tone echoed in her ears, hope swelled within her. Could this be the moment they had both been waiting for? "Hi, Dad," Lucy greeted when he answered, instantly sensing the weariness in his voice. "I saw something incredible today about Rex. You won't believe it." Walter listened intently as Lucy excitedly recounted how Rex's story had gained traction online, and how people were moved by his resilience despite being overlooked for so long. "Dad, there's even a senior pet assistance program that can cover veterinary costs for owners over 65. This means you could adopt him back." For a moment, Silence fell on Walter's end of the line as he processed what Lucy was saying. Felt surreal. Could it be possible that there was a way for him to bring Rex home? Really? I didn't know such programs existed. He responded slowly, emotions stirring within him like waves crashing against rocky shores. Absolutely. I'm going to look into this right now, Lucy assured him, determination igniting like a flame in her heart. She quickly began researching the program online while talking with Walter about what steps they needed to take next. Meanwhile, at the shelter, Rex continued to bond with Dorothy as staff worked diligently to ensure she received care and support during this transitional phase of her life. Little did he know that changes were also stirring beyond those concrete walls, changes that would lead him back home. Later that night, after hours spent clicking through various websites and gathering necessary information about applying for assistance and adoption processes, Lucy called Walter again, filled with newfound energy. "Dad, I have everything we need. We can submit your application tomorrow morning." Overjoyed yet cautious about getting his hopes too high too quickly, Walter replied gratefully while still feeling anxious over whether everything would work out perfectly this time around. "Thank you so much for doing this. Just hearing your enthusiasm is enough to keep my spirit alive." As they finalized their plans together, planning specifics on how they would navigate through this process, Lucy couldn't help but think about how essential their connection had always been, not only between them but also extending out toward Rex waiting patiently somewhere beyond those walls meant only for lost souls yearning for love. The next day arrived bright and hopeful. Walter filled out forms with trembling hands while excitement bubbled within his chest. A feeling mingled closely alongside doubt, still lingering from past experiences. All pieces began falling into place as both father and daughter united under shared mission brought forth by love-seeking reunion amidst struggles endured separately yet deeply intertwined. Even across miles lived apart until paths finally merged back together again towards light. As staff at the shelter continued monitoring Dorothy's condition alongside tending to other animals' needs trotting freely nearby, Rex remained ever watchful beside her side, intuitively aware of everyone around being united toward one ultimate goal. Healing connections forged anew, driven forward by relationships built upon trust unbroken even amid storms faced before. After Lucy learned about the viral post regarding Rex, she quickly set to work researching options that could help her father bring his beloved dog back home. As she navigated through various websites and forums, her determination fueled her every click, hoping to find a way to ease Walter's burden. It was during this online exploration that she stumbled upon information about a senior pet assistance program designed specifically for elderly pet owners. Her heart raced as she read through the details. The program provided financial aid to cover veterinary costs, grooming, and even food for seniors over 65 who needed support in caring for their pets. This revelation felt like a glimmer of hope shining through the clouds of despair that had settled over the family since Walter surrendered Rex. "This is it!" she exclaimed to herself, excitement bubbling within her. Lucy immediately called Walter to share her discovery. "Dad, I found something amazing," she said breathlessly when he picked up the phone. "There's a senior pet assistance program that can cover the costs for you. This means you could adopt Rex back without worrying about those mounting bills." Walter's eyes widened with disbelief as he listened intently. Could this really be true? The thought of having Rex back home filled him with a sense of relief he hadn't felt in months. "Are you serious?" he asked, his voice trembling slightly with hope. "I had no idea such help was available." "Yes, I'm going to look into it right now," Lucy reassured him, feeling energized by the possibility of reuniting her father with his loyal companion. She began gathering all the necessary information while discussing with Walter how they could move forward with the application process. As they spoke, Lucy shared the specifics of what she found. "The program covers veterinary expenses for seniors, so you won't have to worry about those bills anymore. We just need to fill out an application and provide some basic information." Walter felt a wave of gratitude wash over him as he listened to his daughter's enthusiasm. It was a stark contrast to the guilt and sadness he had been carrying since he made the difficult decision to surrender Rex. "Thank you so much for digging this up," he said softly. "You've given me hope when I thought there was none left." With renewed determination, Lucy committed herself to helping Walter through every step of the process. They discussed what documents would be required, proof of age, income verification, and a brief description of how Rex had been cared for prior to his surrender. It felt like a well-thought-out plan finally taking shape. Meanwhile, at the shelter, Rex continued to bond with Dorothy as staff members worked diligently to ensure her needs were met. Unbeknownst to them all, changes were on the horizon that would soon alter their fates forever. As Lucy spent hours preparing everything from applications to gathering documentation, she reflected on how much Rex meant to both her and Walter. He wasn't just a dog. He was family, their family, and they needed him back together again. The following morning arrived full of promise as Lucy sent off the completed application for the Senior Pet Assistance Program. She felt a surge of excitement mixed with nervous anticipation while waiting for confirmation. It felt like waiting for news from a long-lost friend. Back at the shelter, staff continued monitoring Dorothy's condition alongside managing other animals in their care. They noticed how Rex remained ever watchful beside her side, providing comfort without hesitation. A silent guardian amidst uncertainty swirling around them both. As days passed slowly but steadily towards resolution awaited just beyond their reach, the connection growing between Rex and Dorothy deepened further. They both seemed anchored by unspoken understanding amid life's unpredictable tides. With each passing moment filled with hope stitched closely along their journeys intertwined around shared compassion, Walter and Lucy anticipated brighter tomorrows ahead, driven by love-seeking reunion once more in familiar places where paws danced across familiar paths anew. Little did everyone realize that soon enough they would witness an unexpected twist in their lives. One that would not only change Dorothy's fate but also rekindle bonds built upon trust unbroken even after facing storms together. The day had finally come for Walter to be reunited with Rex, and the air was thick with anticipation. After days of filling out forms, gathering documentation, and applying for the Senior Pet Assistance Program, they received the good news. Everything was approved. Walter could hardly believe that he was about to bring his beloved German Shepherd back home. As he drove toward the shelter, memories flooded his mind. Moments spent side by side with Rex, from playful afternoons in the backyard to quiet evenings on the couch. Each thought reignited a spark of joy that had been dimmed since surrendering his dog. He could feel Rex's spirit waiting for him, and with each passing mile, excitement bubbled within him like a fizzy drink ready to burst from its bottle. When he arrived at the shelter, the familiar sounds of barking dogs greeted him. Yet today felt different. There was an air of hope that filled the space. Staff members smiled brightly as he walked through the door, and he could see Dorothy in a corner with Rex by her side, a picture of calmness amidst their chaotic surroundings. "Walter," one of the staff called out cheerfully as they approached him. "We're so glad you're here. Everything is set for Rex's adoption." Walter's heart raced as he followed them toward Rex's kennel. There he was, his gentle giant, laying quietly with his characteristic calmness, his deep brown eyes lighting up when he saw Walter. It was as if time stood still. In that moment, nothing else mattered but the bond they shared. Walter knelt down beside Rex, who instantly sprang to his feet and wagged his tail furiously. "Hey, buddy," Walter said, his voice trembling with emotion as he reached out to stroke Rex's soft fur. "I missed you so much." Rex leaned into Walter's touch, and that familiar warmth enveloped them both. It was a feeling only they understood. The world around them faded into insignificance as their reunion unfolded like a beautiful melody played just for them. "You have no idea how excited I am to have you back," Walter whispered, tears welling up in his eyes. It felt like coming home after a long journey. Every worry melted away in the embrace of this love. As they finalized the adoption paperwork, Walter noticed Dorothy watching them from across the room. She smiled warmly, her eyes crinkling at the corners as she witnessed this heartfelt reunion. "You two seem meant for each other," she commented softly as Walter glanced in her direction. "Thank you for taking care of him while I couldn't," Walter replied sincerely, knowing how important it was to express gratitude for those who had supported Rex during their separation. Once all formalities were completed and documents signed, a sense of triumph washed over both Walter and Rex. They were finally heading home. As Walter clipped on Rex's leash for the first time in months, It felt like reuniting threads that had been pulled apart. Together again, they would weave new memories and adventures together. The ride home was filled with laughter and loving glances exchanged between man and dog. Walter couldn't help but marvel at how big Rex had grown during their time apart. Such things were easy to overlook when their connection remained strong even through distance. When they arrived home, it was as if everything felt completely right again. The familiar sights and smells ignited joy within both of them. Walter led Rex into the house, where toys lay scattered across the floor just waiting for him to pounce on them once more. "Look what I've got," Walter called playfully as he held up a squeaky toy that had been hidden away during their separation. A small surprise intended just for this moment. Rex's eyes lit up as he bounded toward it with uncontainable enthusiasm before picking it up triumphantly and running in circles around Walter. The laughter pouring from both man and dog echoed blissfully through their home, a shared symphony celebrating their reunion and solidifying their bond once more. In this joyful return home lay more than just relief. There existed an understanding between them that transcended words, a promise of companionship that no situation could ever sever again. As days turned into weeks filled with renewed joy together at long last, Walter reflected upon how far they'd traveled through despair, only now brightened by hope rekindled again, amidst shared adventures awaiting, just beyond those doors opened wide toward futures yet unwritten. As Walter and Rex settled into their new life together, the shelter director took a moment to reflect on Rex's journey during his time at the shelter. She had observed him closely and felt a deep connection to the gentle giant who had touched the hearts of everyone around him. While many dogs came and went, Rex's experience had been unique, marked by an unwavering loyalty that seemed to transcend the chaos of the shelter environment. Rex had always remained calm, even amidst the barking dogs and bustling staff. Yet, there was a profound sense of awareness about him that set him apart. It was almost as if he understood he was being held in trust, the director mused, recalling how Rex would quietly watch over Dorothy during her initial distress. He seemed to know that he had one last important task before he could go home. This realization struck her deeply, especially when she considered how Rex had instinctively sensed Dorothy's emotional turmoil. His scratching at the kennel door wasn't merely a plea for attention. It was a silent call to action, a gesture that revealed his innate ability to empathize with those in need. In a world where so many animals were overlooked, Rex had chosen to be present for someone who needed support, even when his own future hung in the balance. The director remembered how, every day, Rex waited patiently for a connection that never came, until Dorothy arrived. Something sparked between them, and it became clear that he sensed her vulnerability as if their spirits recognized each other's pain. "It's remarkable how animals can understand our emotions better than we sometimes realize," she thought, marveling at how Rex's presence offered comfort to both Dorothy and the staff during such turbulent times. As Walter embraced this new chapter with Rex by his side, he too reflected on their journey together, how they had both endured a whirlwind of emotions but emerged stronger and more connected than ever. "I think Rex knew all along that I would come back for him," he whispered one night while stroking Rex's fur as they relaxed on the couch together. "He held on for me." The days passed slowly in their new routine. Long walks in the park, playful afternoons in the backyard, and quiet evenings spent snuggled on the couch watching television. With each moment they shared, Walter felt as though they were weaving a tapestry of memories rich with love and laughter. It was as if both man and dog were healing from their past separations while finding new purpose in each other's company. Meanwhile, at the shelter, news of Rex's adoption spread like wildfire among staff members and volunteers who had grown fond of him during his stay. They often reminisced about how he had been their silent guardian over Dorothy, a dog who never sought attention for himself but instead chose to uplift others around him. The director felt proud of how far Rex had come and knew this was just the beginning of many joyful moments ahead. Walter frequently visited the shelter after adopting Rex, wanting to check in on Dorothy and see how she was adjusting to her new life outside its walls. He made an effort to bring treats and toys for both her and Rex during these visits, an act of kindness that solidified relationships within that community. During one visit, Walter delightedly learned from the director about how Dorothy was thriving with newfound support from staff members who were helping her navigate her health needs while ensuring she felt safe and comfortable. Thanks in part to Rex's instincts guiding them toward her urgent situation when she first arrived at the shelter. Sometimes it feels like fate brings people and animals together for a reason, Walter remarked thoughtfully as he watched Rex frolic with Dorothy in the grassy yard outside. The joy radiating from both of them filled his heart with gratitude. It felt like everything had clicked into place just as it should have all along. As paw prints danced through life's unpredictable paths ahead, Walter couldn't help but smile at how simple acts of compassion had intertwined their lives into something beautiful. A reminder that love knows no boundaries, be it between humans or animals alike. In this ever-changing world where challenges arose unexpectedly, bonds forged through trust remained unbroken, even amid storms faced before. And so began a new chapter not only for Walter and Rex but also for Dorothy. A journey guided by love that celebrated understanding born from shared experiences, waiting patiently beyond every door recently opened wide toward futures yet unwritten.